all obsolete.
Lately I felt broken and askew, but every day with you made me feel brand new.
Wait, I'm not obsolete. I still have a lot of
Lately I felt broken and askew. Take my hand, I'll repair and pull through. Lately I felt broken and askew, but every day with you made me feel brand new.
I am beginning to feel obsolete as
A
well.
robot's remedy,
What did you do it? What?
the love brought clarity.
I would not be able to carry on if I could not be useful.
A robot's remedy,
But I know how I would remedy that.
and so sought endlessly.
And I will use it too.
A robot's remedy, the love brought clarity. How do I spell defeat? To be honest, I'd just rather not spell it or yell it
I'm ready to help them out.
over and over again.
One last time.
Disappointment does not spell defeat. I'll land on my feet. Disappointment does not spell defeat. I'll land on my feet.
Are you prepared?
So I'm ready to help them now. One last time, rapid climb. I'm ready, so ask me how. One more time, it's showtime. It's lifetime, full time, meantime, one time turns into part time, pastime, quick time, clock goes fast. I'm out of time. In downtime, get up time, better find my way home. My way home.
Are you prepared for your journey?
My way home. A robot's remedy, the love brought clarity. A robot's remedy,
I'm glad you're okay.
and so sought endlessly.
No one could ever replace you.
Lately I felt broken and askew, but every day with you made me feel brand new.
Jeez.
Lately I felt broken and askew. Take my hand, I'll repair and pull through. Lately I felt broken and askew, but every day with you made me feel brand new.
Tell them I'm sorry I couldn't fix everything or make their lives better, but every day with them made me feel brand new.
This persisting heaviness feels like pouring rain. Why must you persist? Oh, heaviness feels like pouring rain. Holding up this weight, this weight might break. This weight might break me. I stopped answering calls. Had to get more involved with finding myself. I'm two hands away from flowers at my funeral. Here lies the main. I'm two hands away from eulogies, but I don't wanna die today. You would say he's too young to be a martyr. Never got the chance to live free of the trauma. Never trusted him unless it was his father. Hope it's true what they said about karma. Cause I'm a degenerate and my meds don't work. I'm always skipping school cause Jack is on my shirt. I act up cause my liver only keeps getting so worse. And I act up cause all my friends keep taking rides in a hearse. So fuck church, I'm hurt, that burnt, need more paranoid. Don't lose faith in me, boy, I'm annoyed. I avoid and I'm sorry that I toyed with your heart. We apart, now I'm hurt and that burnt. I need more, give me more or I'll die. I'm afraid I won't survive and I tried, fuck I tried. Now I'm lying on the street, need a ride to get high. I can't stand being me, need a ride to get high. I can't stand being me. Fuck. Persisting feels like pouring rain. Why must you persist? Oh, heaviness feels like pouring rain. Holding up this weight might break. This weight might break. Look, I create to distract myself from the fact that when I look at myself, I avoid eye contact. I feel like I overact, worried to death of the traits that I lack. Get rid of these flashbacks. I didn't ask to go back. Stand back and look back at all of my setbacks. So many times I have turned back to kick that, grabbed onto my drawbacks and come back to cut back. But how can a sats act like me cut back when I keep all of my drawbacks in my backpack? Like a bunch of fucking useless knick-knacks. I'm sure I'll bounce back. But for now, guess I'll just hang back. I feel this ice. It's like pouring rain. I've involved with finding myself too high. It's like pouring rain. Holding up this weight might break. This weight might break me. But I don't wanna die today. Never got the chance to live free of the drama. He's too young to be a martyr. Never got the chance to live free of the trauma.
Join me for an adventure, oh, much like any other, with twists and turns and plot devices, words and wonder. Now my advice is listen close. What makes this story different is the teller and the toll. This one's ours and it's waiting to unfold. So come be merry with me. much like any other, with twists and turns and plot devices, words and wonder. Now my advice is listen close. What makes this story different is the teller and the told. This one's ours and it's waiting to unfold.
Whoa. Well, guys, how's everybody doing? I pray everybody's had a super dandy day. Hey Lay, what's up Sammy? I'm so glad to see you guys here. I wasn't sure if I was gonna stream tonight since I just got done with my gymnastics practice. Oh, Snoops, dude, stop jamming. Hi-ya. There we go. But yeah, I wasn't sure if I would stream tonight, but I got back, I jumped in the shower, had like a cold shower, so I'm drinking a smoothie, so I'm hyped up and I'm ready to read some stories. I decided I was feeling good enough to jump in tonight. Only 2 chapters tonight, but hey, we take what we can get. But honestly, how is everybody? I pray we are doing super duper good. Like not even just good. I pray we're doing super good. As I myself am doing pretty darn good. I've prepared myself some tea, a smoothie, and now we'll jump into some reading. I guess I'll go ahead and jump into the recap as I hear crickets amongst the chat. Last we left off on Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth. Our heroes, well, they got into a lot of things. Percy and Annabeth finally met with Hephaestus after moving on without Tyson and Grover, for they went on their own path, needing to take the opportunity that Grover saw to search for Pan. Annabeth and Percy went off and actually met with Hephaestus. Hephaestus told them, hey, oi, I'll let you know what you want to know, but know that Daedalus probably isn't going to help you. But regardless, hey, he was like, Percy and Annabeth said, we don't care, we want to know anyways, we have to know. And he says, okay, well go over to Mount St. Helens, where the Titan, the most feared Titan, even the gods fear this Titan, Typhon, resides underneath Mount St. Helens. That's where Hephaestus' forge was, and he needed Percy and Annabeth to go there and see who was infiltrating his favorite forge. It turned out to be this race, this ancient race known as the Telkines, with heads, or rather wolf-like heads, slippery like seal-like bodies, and webbed flippers as their feet and clawed hands. Strange creatures, but they apparently work well in forges. And they were specifically there in order to drum up some weapons for the Titan army. So it was kind of a double-edged sword that it was good that Percy and Annabeth found them. But after blowing their cover, Percy told Annabeth to just get out of there. That he had a plan and that he would be back, he promised. But the truth of the matter was Percy just wanted Annabeth to be safe. And he had no plan. After being surrounded by the elder Telkines, he didn't know what to do. So, he felt that feeling in his gut that he gets whenever his powers are about to explode. And boy, did they explode. He found out later that he legitimately caused St. Helens to erupt, taking a lot of the Telkines with him, and landing himself somehow on the island of Eugigia, I believe it was, where Calypso resides. The daughter of Atlas that was punished for Atlas's transgressions. There was stuff that happened on the island that I don't want to talk about, lest I get emotional. We'll just say some heartbreak happened, and Percy found out how to get through the labyrinth to find Daedalus from Hephaestus. He returned after considering staying with Calypso, and much to his surprise, he found that at Camp Half-Blood, as he arrived, they were holding a funeral procession for him. And so he was noticed, of course, standing amongst the crowd of his friends at his own funeral procession. And Annabeth, as she was about to speak about this friend that she lost, she says, he was one of the best heroes I had ever known. He's right there. Of course, Annabeth got angry because, Percy allowed her to think that he was dead. It wasn't exactly Percy's fault, but still, after a brief talk with Chiron and kind of an update, Annabeth and Percy went off to find Rachel Elizabeth there, for that mortal girl with the sight to see through the mist is supposedly going to be the key to getting through the labyrinth and finding Daedalus. After finding her and convincing her quite easily to take up this cause, we will now see how they do as they enter the labyrinth once again. Alright, that pretty much sums up the recap. Yo, what's up, Keaton? Sorry, I was listening to Heavy again, because I missed the first half coming into the stream. Oh, heck, dude. I'll be getting rid of that channel fairly soon and reposting the best ones such as Heavy and whatnot on my official Mary Mitch SoundCloud. Pardon me. On my official Mary Mitch SoundCloud, but I won't delete the other channel until I actually have posted all the songs on the new one. I'm here to chirp amongst the chat. I like that, Keaton. We're mired in Mitch's merriment. I sure hope so. I've brought a smile and some merriment to tonight. I feel good. I finished up practice. I'd say the only thing about practice that kind of stunk is my lungs. My lungs really hurt at the conditioning part at the end. My running capabilities are not good. That's due a lot in part to certain choices and habits that have been broken and picked up throughout the years. So just, pray for my lungs and pray for my ability to kick the nicotine habit. It's not a good one. Something that is genuinely taking away from my ability to give my best at practice. It's a good feeling if your chest isn't feeling like it's about to explode. Well, alrighty guys. We ready for story time? That's what I believe I have as well. Athletic asthma. That's what I was told when I was little, at least. That compounded with the whole vaping and how I used to smoke and whatnot is probably what's doing it. Asthma does suck. Honest to goodness, it's kind of terrifying. Like, I feel for anybody that has asthma. The feeling of panic that comes from a sense that, oh gosh, I might not be able to catch my breath here, is unlike any fear that I've felt, I know. Oof. That's why I felt that the thing to do if I do get in those situations where I fear that I won't be able to catch my breath is to convince myself that I can and will catch my breath. Because the more that the panic comes in and the more I let myself believe that I won't be able to catch my breath, the more likely that is to happen. All right. So, Lay, Keaton, and Sammy, how about I read you a story? This story is called Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. "14. My brother duels me to the death. The metal door was half hidden behind a laundry bin full of dirty hotel towels. I didn't see anything strange about it, but Rachel showed me where to look, and I recognized the faint blue symbol etched into the metal. It hasn't been used in a long time, Annabeth said. I tried to open it once, Rachel said, just out of curiosity. It's rusted shut. No, Annabeth stepped forward. It just needs the touch of a half-blood. Sure enough, as soon as Annabeth put her hand on the mark, it glowed blue. The metal door unsealed and creaked open, revealing a dark staircase leading down. Wow! Rachel looked so calm, but I couldn't tell if she was pretending or not. She'd changed into a ratty Museum of Modern Art t-shirt and her regular marker-colored jeans. Her blue plastic hairbrush sticking out of her pocket, her red hair was tied back, but she still had flecks of gold in it, and traces of the gold glitter on her face. So, after you? You're the guide, Annabeth said, with mock politeness. Lead on. The stairs led down to a large brick tunnel. It was so dark I couldn't see 2 feet in front of us, but Annabeth and I had restocked on flashlights. As soon as we switched them on, Rachel yelped. A skeleton was grinning at us. It wasn't human. It was huge, for one thing, at least 10 feet tall. It had been strung up, chained by its wrists and ankles, so it made a kind of giant X over the tunnel. But what really sent a shiver down my back was the single black eye socket in the center of its skull. A cyclops, Annabeth said. It's very old. It's not anybody we know. It wasn't Tyson, she meant, but that didn't make me feel much better. I still felt like it had been put here as a warning. Whatever could kill a grown cyclops, I didn't want to meet. Rachel swallowed. You have a friend who's a cyclops? Tyson, I said. My half-brother. Your half-brother? Hopefully we'll find him down here, I said. And Grover. He's a satyr. Oh. Her voice was small. Well, then, we'd better keep moving. She stepped under the skeleton's left arm and kept walking. Annabeth and I exchanged looks. Annabeth shrugged. We followed Rachel deeper into the maze. After 50 feet, we came to a crossroads. Ahead, the brick tunnel continued. To the right, the walls were made of ancient marble slabs. To the left, the tunnel was dirt and tree roots. I pointed left. That looks like the tunnel Tyson and Grover took. Annabeth frowned. Yeah, but the architecture to the right, those old stones, that's more likely to lead to an ancient part of the maze. Toward Daedalus's workshop? We need to go straight, Rachel said. Annabeth and I both looked at her. That's the least likely choice, Annabeth said. You don't see it? Rachel asked. Look at the floor. I saw nothing except well-worn bricks and mud. There's a brightness there, Rachel insisted. Very faint, but forward is the correct way. To the left, further down the tunnel, those tree roots are moving like feelers. I don't like that. To the right, there's a trap about 20 feet down. Holes in the walls, maybe for spikes. I don't think we should risk it. I didn't see anything like she was describing, but I nodded. Okay, forward. You believe her? Annabeth asked. Yeah, I said. Don't you? Annabeth looked like she wanted to argue, but she waved at Rachel to lead on. Together we kept walking down the brick corridor. It twisted and turned, but there were no more side tunnels. We seemed to be angling down, heading deeper underground. No traps? I asked, anxiously. Nothing. Rachel knit her eyebrows. Should it be this easy? I don't know, I said. It never was before. So, Rachel, Annabeth said, where are you from exactly? She said it like, what planet are you from? But Rachel didn't look offended. Brooklyn, she said. Aren't your parents going to be worried if you're out late? Rachel exhaled. Not likely. I could be gone a week and they'd never notice. Why not? This time, Annabeth didn't sound as sarcastic. Having trouble with parents was something she understood. Before Rachel could answer, there was a creaking noise in front of us, like huge doors opening. What was that? Annabeth asked. I don't know, Rachel said. Metal hinges. Oh, that's very helpful. I mean, what is it? Then I heard heavy footsteps shaking the corridor, coming towards us. Run? I asked. Run, Rachel agreed. We turned and fled the way we'd come, but we didn't make it 20 feet before we ran straight into some old friends. 2 drachnae, snake women in Greek armor, leveled their javelins at our chests. Standing between them was Kelly, the Imposa cheerleader. Well, well, Kelly said. I uncapped her riptide, and Annabeth pulled her knife, but before my sword was even out of pen form, Kelly pounced on Rachel. Her hand turned into a claw, and she spun Rachel around, holding her tight with her talons on Rachel's neck. "Taking your little mortal pet for a walk?" Kelly asked me. "They're such fragile things. So easy to break." Behind us, the footsteps came closer. A huge form appeared out of the gloom. An 8-foot-tall Lastrygonian giant with red eyes and fangs. The giant licked his lips when he saw us.
Can I eat them?
"No," Kelly said. "Your master will want these. It will provide a great deal of entertainment." She smiled at me. "Now march, half-bloods, or you all die here, starting with the mortal girl." It was pretty much my worst nightmare. And believe me, I'd had plenty of nightmares. We marched down the tunnel, flanked by Drachnai, with Kelly and the giant in back, just in case we tried to run for it. Nobody seemed to worry about us running forward. That was the direction they wanted us to go. Up ahead, I could see bronze doors. They were about 10 feet tall, emblazoned with a pair of crossed swords. From behind them came a muffled roar, like from a crowd. "Oh, yes," said the snake woman on my left. "You'll be very popular with our host." I'd never gotten to look at a Drachnai up close before, and I wasn't real thrilled to have the opportunity. She would have had a beautiful face, except her tongue was forked, and her eyes were yellow with black slits for pupils. She wore bronze armor that stopped at her waist. Below that, where her legs should have been, were 2 massive snake trunks, mottled bronze and green. She moved by a combination of slithering and walking, as if she were on living skis. "Who's your host?" I asked. She hissed, which might have been a laugh. "Oh, you'll see. You'll get along famously. He's your brother, after all." My what? Immediately, I thought of Tyson. But that was impossible. What was she talking about? The giant pushed past us and opened the doors. He picked up Annabeth by her shirt and said,
"You stay here."
"Hey!" she protested, but the guy was twice her size, and he'd already confiscated her knife and my sword. Kelly laughed. She still had her claws at Rachel's neck. "Go on, Percy. Entertain us. We'll wait here with your friends to make sure you behave." I looked at Rachel. "I'm sorry. I'll get you out of this." She nodded, as much as she could with a demon at her throat. "That would be nice." The Drachnai prodded me toward the doorway at javelin point, and I walked out onto the floor of an arena. "Oh, heck. Thank you, Lucas." "And what's up yourself, Yeet?" Yeah, I'll pass on that thank you if I see Rem. It wasn't the largest arena I'd ever been in, but it seemed pretty spacious, considering the whole place was underground. The dirt floor was circular, just big enough that you could drive a car around the rim if you pulled it real tight. In the center of the arena, a fight was going on. It was between a giant and a centaur. The centaur looked panicked. He was galloping around his enemy, using sword and shield, while the giant swung a javelin the size of a telephone pole. And the crowd cheered. The first tier of seats was 12 feet above the arena floor. Plain stone benches wrapped all the way around, and every seat was full. There were giants, drachni, demigods, telkines, and stranger things. Bat-winged demons and creatures that seemed half human and half, you name it. Bird, reptile, insect, mammal. But the creepiest thing were the skulls. The arena was full of them. They ringed the edge of the railing. 3-foot-high piles of them decorated the steps between the benches. They grinned from pikes at the back of the stands and hung on chains from the ceiling, like horrible chandeliers. Some of them looked very old, nothing but bleached white bones. Others looked a lot fresher. I'm not gonna describe them. Believe me, you don't want me to. In the middle of all of this, proudly displayed on the side of the spectator's wall, was something that made no sense to me. A green banner with the trident of Poseidon in the center. What was that doing in a horrible place like this? Above the banner, sitting in a seat of honor, was an old enemy. "Luke," I said. I'm not sure he could hear me over the roar of the crowd, but he smiled coldly. He was wearing camouflage pants, a white t-shirt, a bronze breastplate, just like I'd seen in my dream. But he still wasn't wearing his sword, which I thought was strange. Next to him sat the largest giant I'd ever seen, much larger than the one on the floor fighting the centaur. The giant next to Luke must have been 15 feet tall, easy, and so wide he took up 3 seats. He wore only a loincloth, like a sumo wrestler. His skin was dark red and tattooed with blue wave designs. I figured he must be Luke's new bodyguard or something. There was a cry from the arena floor, and I jumped back as the centaur crashed to the dirt beside me. He met my eyes pleadingly. "Help!" I reached for my sword, but it had been taken from me, and hadn't reappeared in my pocket yet. The centaur struggled to get up as the giant approached, his javelin ready. A taloned hand gripped my shoulder. "If you value your friends' lives," my drachni guard said, "you won't interfere. This isn't your fight. Wait your turn." The centaur couldn't get up. One of his legs was broken. The giant put his huge foot on the horseman's chest and raised the javelin. He looked up at Luke. The crowd cheered. "Death! Death! Yeah!" Luke didn't do anything, but the tattooed sumo dude sitting next to him rose. He smiled down at the centaur, who was whimpering, "Please, no, no." Then the sumo dude held out his hand and gave the thumbs down sign. I closed my eyes as the gladiator giant thrust his javelin. When I looked again, the centaur was gone, disintegrated to ashes. All that was left was a single hoof. which the giant took up as a trophy and showed the crowd. They roared their approval. A gate opened at the opposite end of the stadium, and the giant marched out in triumph. In the stands, the sumo dude raised his hands for silence.
Good entertainment,
He bellowed.
but nothing I haven't seen before. What else do you have, Luke, son of Hermes?
Luke's jaw tightened. I could tell he didn't like being called the son of Hermes. He hated his father, but he rose calmly to his feet. His eyes glittered. In fact, he seemed to be in a pretty good mood. Lord Antiochus, Luke said loud enough for the crowd to hear. You have been an excellent host. We would be happy to amuse you, to repay the favor of passing through your territory.
A favor I have not yet granted.
Antiochus growled.
I want entertainment.
Luke bowed. I believe I have something better than centaurs to fight in your arena now. I have a brother of yours. He pointed at me. Percy Jackson, son of Poseidon. The crowd began jeering at me and throwing stones, most of which I dodged, but one caught me in the cheek and made a good-sized cut. Antiochus's eyes lit up.
A son of Poseidon. Then he should fight well, or die well.
If his death pleases you, Luke said, will you let our armies cross your territory?
Perhaps,
Antiochus said. Luke didn't look too pleased about the perhaps. He glared down at me, as if warning me that I'd better die in a really spectacular way, or I'd be in big trouble. Luke! Annabeth yelled, Stop this! Let us go! Luke seemed to notice her for the first time. He looked stunned for a moment. Annabeth.
enough time for the females to fight after.
Antiochus interrupted.
First, Percy Jackson, what weapons will you choose?
The Drachnai pushed me into the middle of the arena. I stared up at Antiochus. How can you be a son of Poseidon? Antiochus laughed, and the rest of the crowd laughed too.
I am his favorite son.
Antiochus boomed.
Behold, my temple to the Earth Shaker, built from the skulls of all those I've killed in his name. Your skull shall join them.
I stared in horror at all the skulls, hundreds of them, and the banner of Poseidon. How could this be a temple for my dad? My dad was a nice guy. He'd never asked me for a Father's Day card, much less somebody's skull. Percy! Annabeth yelled at me. His mother is Gaia! Her Lastrygonian captor clamped his hand over her mouth. His mother is Gaia, the Earth Goddess. Annabeth was trying to tell me that this was important, but I didn't know why. Maybe just because the guy had 2 godly parents. That would make him even harder to kill. "You're crazy, Antaeus," I said. "If you think this is a good tribute, you know nothing about Poseidon." The crowd screamed insults at me, but Antaeus raised his hand up for silence.
"Weapons,"
He insisted.
"and then we will see how you die. Will you have axes, shields, nets, flamethrowers?"
"Just my sword," I said. Laughter erupted from the monsters, but immediately Riptide appeared in my hands, and some of the voices in the crowd turned nervous. The bronze blade glowed with a faint light.
"Round 1.
Antaeus announced. The gates opened and a Drachni slithered out. She had a trident in one hand and a weighted net in the other. Classic gladiator style. I trained against those weapons at camp for years. She jabbed at me experimentally. I stepped away. She threw her net, hoping to entangle my sword hand, but I sidestepped easily, sliced her spear in half, and stabbed Riptide through a chink in her armor. With a painful wail, she vaporized into nothing, and the cheering of the crowd died.
"No!
Antaeus bellowed.
Too fast! You must wait for the kill. Only I give that order."
I glanced over at Annabeth and Rachel. I had to find a way to get them free. Maybe distract their guards. "Nice job, Percy," Luke smiled. "You've gotten better with the sword. I'll grant you that."
"Round 2.
Antaeus yelled.
And slower this time. More entertainment. Wait for my call before killing anybody. Or else."
The gates opened again. This time a young warrior came out. He was a little older than me, about 16. He had glossy black hair, and his left eye was covered with an eye patch. He was thin and wiry, so his Greek armor hung on him loosely. He stabbed his sword into the dirt, adjusted his shield straps, and pulled on his horsehair helmet. "Who are you?" I asked. "Ethan Nakamura," he said. "I have to kill you." "Why are you doing this?"
"Oi!"
A monster jeered from the stands.
"Stop talking and fight already!"
The others took up the call. "I have to prove myself," Ethan told me. "Only way to join up." And with that he charged. Our swords met in midair, and the crowd roared. It didn't seem right. I didn't want to fight to entertain a bunch of monsters, but Ethan Nakamura wasn't giving me much of a choice. He pressed forward. He was good. He'd never been at Camp Half-Blood as far as I knew, but he'd been trained. He parried my strike and almost slammed me with his shield, but I jumped back. He slashed. I rolled to one side. We exchanged thrusts and parries, getting a feel for each other's fighting style. I tried to keep on Ethan's blind side, but it didn't help much. He'd apparently been fighting with only one eye for a long time, because he was excellent at guarding his left.
"Blood!"
the monsters cried. My opponent glanced up at the stands. That was his weakness, I realized. He needed to impress them. I didn't. He yelled an angry battle cry and charged me. But I parried his blade and blocked away, letting him come after me.
Boo! Boo!
Antaeus said.
Stand and fight!
Ethan pressed me, but I had no trouble defending, even without a shield. He was dressed for defense, heavy armor and shield, which made it very tiring to play offense. I was a softer target, but I also was lighter and faster. The crowd went nuts, yelling complaints and throwing rocks. We'd been fighting for almost 5 minutes, and there was no blood. Finally, Ethan made his mistake. He tried to jab at my stomach, and I locked his sword hilt in mine and twisted. His sword dropped to the dirt. Before he could recover, I slammed the butt of my sword into his helmet and pushed him down. His heavy armor helped me more than him. He fell on his back, dazed and tired. I put the tip of my sword on his chest. "Get it over with," Ethan groaned. I looked up at Antaeus. His red face was stony with displeasure, but he held up his hands and put it in a thumbs-down position. "Forget it." I sheathed my sword. "Don't be a fool," Ethan groaned. "He'll just kill us both." I offered him my hand. Reluctantly, he took it. I helped him up.
No one dishonors the games,
Antaeus bellowed.
Your heads shall both be tributes to Poseidon.
I looked at Ethan. When you see your chance, run. Then I turned back to Antaeus. Why don't you fight me yourself? If you've got Dad's favor, come down here and prove it. The monsters grumbled in the stands. Antaeus looked around and apparently realized he had no choice. He couldn't say no without looking like a coward.
I am the greatest wrestler in the world, boy,
He warned.
I have been wrestling since the first pancration.
Pancration? I asked. He means fighting to the death, Ethan said. No rules, no holds barred. It used to be an Olympic sport. Thanks for the tip, I said. Don't mention it. Rachel was watching me with wide eyes. Annabeth shook her head emphatically, the Lastrygonian's hand still clamped over her mouth. I pointed my sword at Antaeus. Winner takes all. I win, we all go free. You win, we die. Swear upon the river Styx. Antaeus laughed.
This shouldn't take long. I swear to your terms.
He leapt off the railing into the arena. Good luck, Ethan told me. You'll need it. Then he backed up quickly. Antaeus cracked his knuckles. He grinned, and I saw that even his teeth were etched in wavy patterns, which must have made brushing after meals a real pain.
Weapons?
He asked. I'll stick with my sword. You? He held up his huge hands, and wiggled his fingers.
I don't need anything else. Master Luke, you will referee this one.
Luke smiled down at me. With pleasure. Antaeus lunged. I rolled under his legs and stabbed him in the back of his thigh. He yelled. But where blood should have come out, there was a spout of sand, like I'd busted the side of an hourglass. It spilled into the dirt floor, and the dirt collected around his leg, almost like a cast. When the dirt fell away, the wound was gone. He charged again. Fortunately, I'd had some experience fighting giants. I dodged sideways this time and stabbed him under the arm. Riptide's blade was buried to the hilt in his ribs. That was the good news. The bad news was that it wrenched out of my hand when the giant turned, and I was thrown across the arena, weaponless. Antaeus bellowed in pain. I waited for him to disintegrate. No monster had ever withstood a direct hit from my sword like that. The celestial bronze blade had to be destroying his essence. But Antaeus groped for the hilt, pulled out the sword, and tossed it behind him. More sand poured from the wound, but again the earth rose up to cover him. Dirt coated his body all the way to his shoulders. As soon as the dirt spilled away, Antaeus was fine.
No, you see why I never lose, demigod.
Antaeus gloated.
Come here and let me crush you. I'll make it quick.
Antaeus stood between me and my sword. Desperately, I glanced to either side. I caught Annabeth's eye. The earth, I thought. What had Annabeth been trying to tell me? Antaeus' mother was Gaia, the Earth Mother, the most ancient goddess of all. Antaeus' father might have been Poseidon, but Gaia was keeping him alive. I couldn't hurt him as long as he was touching the ground. I tried to skirt around him, but Antaeus anticipated my move. He blocked my path, chuckling. He was just toying with me now. He had me cornered. I looked up at the chains hanging from the ceiling, dangling with skulls of his enemies on hooks. Suddenly, I had an idea. I feigned to the other side. Antaeus blocked me. The crowd jeered and screamed at Antaeus to finish me off, but he was having too much fun.
Peony boy,
He said.
not worthy to be a son of the sea god.
I felt my pen return to my pocket, but Antaeus wouldn't know that. He would think Riptide was still in the dirt behind him. He would think my goal was to get my sword. It wasn't much of an advantage, but it was all I had. I charged straight ahead, crouching low so he would think I was going to roll between his legs again. While he was stooping, ready to catch me like a grounder, I jumped for all I was worth, kicking off his forearm, scrambling up his shoulder like it was a ladder, placing my shoe on his head. He did the natural thing. He straightened up indignantly and yelled,
Hey!
I pushed off, using his force to catapult me toward the ceiling. I caught the top of a chain, and the skulls and hooks jangled beneath me. I wrapped my legs around the chain, just like I used to do at the ropes. At the ropes course in gym class. I drew Riptide and sawed off the chain next to me.
Come down here, coward.
Antaeus bellowed. He tried to grab me, but I was just out of reach. Hanging on for dear life, I yelled, "Come and get me! Or are you too slow and fat?" He howled and made another grab for me. He caught a chain and tried to pull himself up. While he was struggling, I lowered my sawed-off chain, hook first. It took me 2 tries, but finally, I snagged Antaeus' loincloth. He yelled. Quickly, I slipped the free chain through the fastening link on my own chain, pulled it taut, and secured it the best I could. Antaeus tried to slip back to the ground, but his butt stayed suspended by his loincloth. He had to hold on to the other chains with both hands to avoid getting flipped upside down. I prayed the loincloth and the chain would hold up for a few more seconds. While Antaeus cursed and flailed, I scrambled around the chains, swinging and cutting like I was some kind of crazed monkey. I made loops with hooks and metal links. I don't know how I did it. My mom always said I have a gift for getting stuff tangled up. Plus, I was desperate to save my friends. Anyway, within a couple of minutes, the giant was suspended above the ground, hopelessly snarled in chains and hooks. Whoa! Whoa, ho, ho. Loganja, thank you so much for the raid. I'll pause amidst this chapter for a moment, certainly. Rob was here. Excellent, excellent. How's everybody doing? Hey, any friend of Lucas's could certainly be a friend of mine. How is everybody? Thank you so much for the raid. I pray your guys' stream was super duper dandy. And I'm excited to have all of you here. Thank you, Logan. I appreciate that follow. To give you a brief idea of what I do here, in an effort to practice my voice acting, I read through novels and books and short stories on stream aloud for the listening pleasure of my audience. The idea spawned from when I was living with my folks for a short bit there during quarantine, and I didn't really know what to do during the evening, so I wanted to spend some more time with my folks, so I thought, hey, if they read to me so often when I was little, maybe I could return the favor. Which was pretty sweet. And then from there, I had the idea of, well, hey, I enjoy doing this so much. Maybe I could do it on Twitch. I know there's not too many folks reading aloud and doing, sort of live audio book format on here. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm gonna take this moment to take a sip of my smoothie. Well, I'm hearing crickets in the chat, so I'll go ahead and continue with the story. Everybody get cozy and settle in for some more Percy Jackson. I dropped to the floor, panting and sweaty. My hands were raw from climbing.
Get me down!
Antaeus demanded. Free him, Luke ordered,
He is our host.
I uncapped Riptide. I'll free him. And I stabbed the giant in the stomach. He bellowed and sand poured out, but he was too far up to touch the earth, and the dirt did not rise to help him. Antaeus just dissolved, pouring out bit by bit, until there was nothing left but empty, swinging chains. A really big loincloth on a hook, and a bunch of grinning skulls dancing above me like they finally had something to smile about.
Jackson,
Luke yelled.
I should have killed you long ago.
You tried, I reminded him. Let us go, Luke. We had a sworn agreement with Antaeus. I'm the winner. He did just what I expected. He said,
Antaeus is dead. His oath dies with him. But since I'm feeling merciful today, I'll have you killed quickly.
He pointed at Annabeth.
Spare the girl.
His voice quavered just a little.
I would speak to her before our great triumph.
Every monster in the audience drew a weapon or extended its claws. We were trapped, hopelessly outnumbered. Then, I felt something in my pocket. A freezing sensation growing colder and colder. The dog whistle. My fingers closed around it. For days, I'd avoid using Quintus's gift. It had to be a trap. But now, I had no choice. I took it out of my pocket and blew. It made no audible sound as it shattered into shards of ice, melting in my hand. Luke laughed.
What was that supposed to do?
From behind me came a surprised yelp. The Lastrygonian giant who'd been guarding Annabeth flew past me and smashed into the wall. Kelly the Imposa screamed as a 500-pound black mastiff picked her up like a chew toy and tossed her through the air, straight into Luke's lap. Mrs. O'Leary snarled, and the two Drachnai guards backed away. For a moment, the monsters in the audience were caught completely by surprise. "Let's go," I yelled at my friends. "Heal, Mrs. O'Leary."
The far exit,
Rachel cried.
that's the right way.
Ethan Nakamura took his cue. Together we raced across the arena and out the far exit, Mrs. O'Leary right behind us. As we ran, I could hear the disorganized sounds of an entire army trying to jump out of the stands to follow. Bum, bum, ba-dum. Shoot. My Mrs. O'Leary sound was, I think, kind of pathetic. But heck yeah, dude. He killed the son of Gaia. What's this kid gonna do next? Incredible. What up, Purple? I like your name. Reminds me of Purple. Which, as you might be able to tell, I definitely love the color purple. But where's Nico? Where is Nico, though? Did he escape? Did they let him go? Did they know about who he is? You know, who his father is, rather? I don't know, most of my questions right now are about Nico and what his deal is. Also, will our heroes be able to escape? the horde of the Titans' army. Phew. I don't know. I agree, Keaton. It's kind of killing me. Cause or I didn't even mention what might be the worst case scenario. Did he join them? Did he join them? Also, I thought about during the arena scene using this, one of these, one of those filters with like crazy big reverb, but I don't know. I would have had to be clicking back and forth between it. And it was one of those where, like, I didn't do it at the very start of the arena scene, so I thought it would be a little, I don't know, a little jarring. I'm so sorry, I didn't respond to Rob. I'm glad you'll be here, man. It's a solid thing. And your guys' presence means the world. The fact that I get to read to people is a cool thing. I don't know. I love reading these things aloud anyways, but to have you guys here during my practice is pretty cool. I don't know. I feel like saying pretty cool doesn't do what I'm saying justice, but I'm kind of tired tonight after my practice, and my brain is struggling to come up with better descriptors. Well, we are at the hour mark, so we're gonna go ahead and jump to a little break. Thanks all of you guys who stuck around after the raid. I know you're under no obligation to do something like that, so yeah, it means a lot, those of you that stuck around. We're gonna jump to a quick break. It is about 2 past the hour where I'm at, so we're gonna return at 12 or 13 past the hour. Latest 15 past the hour. So I hope you guys enjoy the music during the break. As always, I pray everybody stands up during the break. It's important that after we've been sitting at our desks for hours upon end, or even after just like 1 hour, it's super good for your body if you just stand up and shake out your troubles and shake out your tribulations. Oh wait, hang on. Shake out your troubles and shake out your tribulations. So heck yeah. Hope you enjoy the music while I'm gone. Feel free to grab a blanket or some kind of snack or anything you might like to have during the stream. And I'll see you when I return. Don't go nowhere, wildflowers. Keep on swaying till I get back. Green hotch. What is that? Hot. I don't know what that word is. Green hatch chili. Chili mac and cheese. Dude, that sounds godly. That sounds godly. I don't doubt it, dude. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I just had like a smoothie tonight. Nowhere near compares to that. Good lord. Man, was it fun to make? Heck, what am I doing? We can talk more about the mac and cheese when I return. Oops. Don't worry, dude. Your secret is safe with me. Alright, guys. Be right back. Hope you enjoy the break.
What? There's nothing wrong.
Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong.
The boredom latches onto me. It is daylight, 81 degrees. I should be outside, enjoying the breeze. But I've been play with me, ignoring reality. I said it's only a dream. It's only a dream. I wish you could somehow complete me. I would give it to you all now, but I kinda lost my key. I've been hiding, but I kinda lost the dream. I've been hiding, but I kinda lost the dream. Well, this medication's strong and I feel no. Guess you always have to try before you know. You say come here alone, well it'll be fine. Just talk to me. Knowing reality, it's only a dream.
All right. Welcome back. How's everybody doing? I pray the rake. I pray your rake was even better than the break. I pray your break was real nice. Mine was pretty good too. I went and hit the restroom. I washed out my smoothie container. Came back, stretched out a little, took some long sips of tea, and now I appear before you once more. Well, as always, I leave a little bit of time, but if I hear nothing but crickets within the chat room, then I'll go ahead and jump right into story time. So, this is Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. 15. We steal some slightly used wings.
This way!
Rachel yelled.
Why should we follow you?
Annabeth demanded.
You led us straight into a death trap. It was the way we needed to go,
Rachel said.
and so is this. Come on.
Annabeth didn't look happy about it, but she ran along with the rest of us. Rachel seemed to know exactly where she was going. She whipped around corners and didn't even hesitate at crossroads. Once, she said,
Duck!
and we all crouched as a huge axe swung over our heads. Then we kept going as if nothing had happened. I lost track of how many turns we made. We didn't stop to rest until we came to a room the size of a gymnasium with old marble columns holding up the roof. I stood at the doorway, listening for sounds of pursuit, but I heard nothing. Apparently, we lost Luke and his minions in the maze. Then I realized something else. Mrs. O'Leary was gone. I didn't know when she disappeared. I didn't know if she'd gotten lost, or been overrun by monsters, or what. My heart turned to lead. She saved our lives, and I hadn't even waited to make sure she was following us. Ethan collapsed on the floor. You people are crazy. He pulled off his helmet. His face gleamed with sweat. Annabeth gasped. I remember you. You were one of the undetermined kids in the Hermes cabin years ago. He glared at her. Yeah, and you're Annabeth. I remember. What happened to your eye? Ethan looked away. I got the feeling that was one subject he would not discuss. You must be the half-blood from my dream, I said. The one Luke's people cornered. It wasn't Nico after all. Who's Nico? Never mind, Annabeth said quickly. Why were you trying to join up with the wrong side? Ethan sneered. There is no right side. The gods never cared about us. Why shouldn't I sign up with an army that makes you fight to the death for entertainment? Annabeth said. Gee, I wonder. Ethan struggled to his feet. I'm not going to argue with you. Thanks for the help, but I'm out of here. We're going after Daedalus, I said. Come with us. Once we get through, you'd be welcome back at camp. You really are crazy if you think Daedalus will help you. He has to, Annabeth said. We'll make him listen. Ethan snorted. Yeah, well, good luck with that. I grabbed his arm. You're just going to head off alone into the maze? That's suicide. He looked at me with barely controlled anger. His eye patch was frayed around the edges, and the black cloth was faded, like he'd been wearing it a long, long time. You shouldn't have spared me, Jackson. Mercy has no place in this war. Then he ran off into the darkness, back the way we'd come. Annabeth, Rachel, and I were so exhausted, we made camp right there in the huge room. I found some scrap wood, and we started a fire. Shadows danced off the columns, rising around us like trees. Something was wrong with Luke, Annabeth muttered, poking at the fire with her knife. Did you notice the way he was acting? He looked pretty pleased to me, I said. Like he'd spent a nice day torturing heroes. That's not true. There was something wrong with him. He looked nervous. He told his monsters to spare me. He wanted to tell me something. Probably. Hi, Annabeth. Sit here with me and watch while I tear your friends apart. It'll be fun. You're impossible, Annabeth grumbled. She sheathed her dagger and looked at Rachel. So which way now, Sacagawea? Rachel didn't respond right away. She'd become quieter since the arena. Rachel hardly bothered to answer. She'd burned the tip of a stick in the fire and was using it to draw ash figures on the floor. Images of the monsters we'd seen. With a few strokes, she caught the likeness of a drachni perfectly. We'll follow the path, she said. The brightness on the floor. The brightness that led us into a trap? Annabeth asked. Lay off her, Annabeth, I said. She's doing the best she can. Annabeth stood. The fire's getting low. I'll go look for some more scraps while you guys talk strategy. She marched off into the shadows. Rachel drew another figure with her stick, and Ashti and Teus dangling from his chains. Annabeth's not usually like this, I told her. I don't know what her problem is. Rachel raised her eyebrows. Are you sure you don't know? What do you mean? Boys, she muttered. Totally blind. Hey, don't you get on my case too. Look, I'm sorry I got you involved in this. No, you were right, she said. I can see the path. I can't explain it, but it's really clear. She pointed toward the other end of the room in the darkness. The workshop is that way, the heart of the maze. We're very close now. I don't know why the path led me through that arena. I'm sorry about that. I thought we were going to die. She sounded like she was close to crying. Hey, I'm usually about to die, I promised. Don't feel bad. She studied my face. So, you do this every summer? Fight monsters, save the world? Don't you ever get to do just, normal stuff? I'd never really thought about it like that. The last time I'd had something like a normal life had been... well, never. Half-bloods get used to it, I guess. Or... maybe not used to it, but... I shifted uncomfortably. What about you? What do you do normally? Rachel shrugged. I paint. I read a lot. Okay, I thought. So far, we are scoring a 0 on the similarities chart. What about your family? I could sense her mental shields going up. Like this was not a safe subject. Oh, they're just, family. You said they wouldn't notice if you were gone. She set down her drawing stick. Wow, I'm really tired. I may sleep for a while, okay? Oh, sure. Sorry if... But Rachel was already curling up, using her backpack as a pillow. She closed her eyes and lay very still, but I got the feeling she wasn't really asleep. A few minutes later, Annabeth came back. She tossed some more sticks on the fire. She looked at Rachel, then at me. I'll take first watch, she said. You should sleep too. You don't have to act like that. Like what? Like... Never mind. I lay down, feeling miserable. I was so tired, I fell asleep as soon as I closed my eyes. In my dreams, I heard laughter. Cold, harsh laughter, like knives being sharpened. I was standing at the edge of a pit in the depths of Tartarus. Below me, the darkness seethed like inky soup. So close to your own destruction, little hero. The voice of Kronos chided. And still, you're blind. The voice was different than it had been before. It seemed almost physical now, as if it were speaking from a real body instead of... whatever he'd been in his chopped up condition.
I have much to thank you for,
Kronos said.
you have assured my rise.
The shadows in the cavern became deeper and heavier. I tried to back away from the edge of the pit, but it was like swimming through oil. Time slowed down. My breathing almost stopped.
A favor.
Kronos said.
The Titan Lord always pays his debts. Perhaps a glimpse of the friends you abandoned.
The darkness rippled around me, and I was in a different cave.
Hurry!
Tyson said. He came barreling into the room. Grover stumbled along behind him. There was a rumbling in the corridor they'd come from, and the head of an enormous snake burst into the cave. I mean, this thing was so big its body barely fit through the tunnel. Its scales were coppery, its head was diamond-shaped like a rattler, and its yellow eyes glowed with hatred. When it opened its mouth, its fangs were as tall as Tyson. It lashed at Grover, but Grover scampered out of the way. The snake got a mouthful of dirt. Tyson picked up a boulder and threw it at the monster, smacking it between the eyes, but the snake just recoiled and hissed.
It's going to eat you!
Grover yelled at Tyson.
How do you know? It just told me. Run!
Tyson darted to one side, but the snake used its head like a club and knocked him off his feet.
No!
Grover yelled, but before Tyson could regain his balance, the snake wrapped around him and started to squeeze. Tyson strained, pushing with all his immense strength, but the snake squeezed tighter. Grover frantically hit the snake with his reed pipes, but he might as well have been banging on a stone wall. The whole room shook as the snake flexed its muscles, shuddering to overcome Tyson's strength. Grover began to play with pipes, and stalactites rained from the ceiling. The whole cave seemed about to collapse. I woke, with Annabeth shaking my shoulder.
Percy, wake up!
Tyson's in trouble, I said. We have to help him.
First things first,
She said.
earthquake.
Sure enough, the room was rumbling.
Rachel!
I yelled. Her eyes opened instantly. She grabbed her pack, and the three of us ran. We were almost to the far tunnel when a column next to us groaned and buckled. We kept going as 100 tons of marble crashed down behind us. We made it to the corridor and turned just in time to see the other columns toppling. A cloud of white dust billowed over us, and we kept running.
You know what? Annabeth said. I like this way after all.
It wasn't long before we saw light up ahead. Like regular electric lighting.
There!
Rachel said. We followed her into a stainless steel hallway. Like I imagined they have on a space station or something. Fluorescent lights glowed from the ceiling. The floor was a metal grate. I was so used to being in the darkness that I had to squint. Annabeth and Rachel both looked pale in the harsh illumination.
This way,
Rachel said, beginning to run.
we're close. This is so wrong,
Annabeth said.
The workshop should be in the oldest section of the maze. This can't...
She faltered, because we'd arrived at a set of metal double doors. Inscribed in the steel at eye level was a large blue Greek delta.
We're here, Rachel announced. Daedalus's workshop.
Annabeth pressed the symbol on the doors, and they hissed open. So much for ancient architecture, I said. Annabeth scowled. Together we walked inside. The first thing that struck me was the daylight. Blazing sun coming through giant windows. Not the kind of thing you'd expect in the heart of a dungeon. The workshop was like an artist's studio, with 30-foot ceilings and industrial lighting, polished stone floors, and workbenches alongside the windows. A spiral staircase led up to a second-story loft. Half a dozen easels displayed hand-drawn diagrams for buildings and machines that looked like Leonardo da Vinci sketches. Several laptop computers were scattered around on the tables. Glass jars of green oil, Greek fire, lined one shelf. There were inventions, too. Weird metal machines I couldn't make sense of. One was a bronze chair with a bunch of electrical wires attached to it, like some kind of torture device. In another corner stood a giant metal egg about the size of a man. There was a grandfather clock that appeared to be made entirely of glass, so you could see all the gears turning. And hanging on the wall were several sets of bronze and silver wings.
De immortales,
Annabeth muttered. She ran to the nearest easel and looked at the sketch.
He's a genius. Look at the curves on this building.
And an artist, Rachel said in amazement.
These wings are amazing.
The wings looked more advanced than the ones I'd seen in my dreams. The feathers were more tightly interwoven. Instead of wax seals, self-adhesive strips ran down the sides. I kept my hand on Riptide. Apparently, Daedalus was not at home, but the workshop looked like it had been recently used. The laptops were running their screensavers. A half-eaten blueberry muffin and a coffee cup sat on the workbench. I walked to the window. The view outside was amazing. I recognized the Rocky Mountains in the distance. We were high up in the foothills, at least 500 feet, and down below a valley spread out, filled with a tumbled collection of red mesas and boulders and spires of stone. It looked like some huge kid had been playing in sand and building a toy city with skyscraper-sized blocks, and then decided to knock it over. Where are we? I wondered.
Colorado Springs,
A voice said behind us.
the Garden of the Gods.
Standing on the spiral staircase above us. Oh, Colorado Springs, a voice said behind us. The Garden of the Gods. Standing on the spiral staircase above us, with his weapon drawn, was our missing swordmaster, Quintus.
You,
Annabeth said.
what have you done with Daedalus?
Quintus smiled faintly.
Trust me, my dear. You don't want to meet him.
Look, Mr. Traitor, she growled. I didn't fight a dragon woman and a three-bodied man and a psychotic sphinx to see you. Now where is Daedalus?
Quintus came down the stairs, holding his sword at his side. He was dressed in jeans and boots and his counselor's t-shirt from Camp Half-Blood, which seemed like an insult now that we knew he was a spy. I didn't know if I could bear him in another sword fight. He was pretty good, but I figured I would have to try.
You think I'm an agent of Kronos,
he said. That I work for Luke.
Well, duh,
said Annabeth. You're an intelligent girl, he said. But you're wrong. I only work for myself. Luke mentioned you, I said. Guryon knew about you too. You've been to his ranch. Of course, he said. I've been almost everywhere. Even here. He walked past me like I was no threat at all and stood by the window. The view changes from day to day, he mused. It's always someplace high up. Yesterday, it was from a skyscraper overlooking Manhattan. The day before that, there was a beautiful view of Lake Michigan. But it keeps coming back to the Garden of the Gods. I think the Labyrinth likes it here. A fitting name, I suppose. You've been here before, I said. Oh, yes. That's an illusion out there? I asked. A projection or something?
no, Rachel murmured. It's real. We're really in Colorado.
Quintus regarded her. You have clear vision, don't you? You remind me of another mortal girl I once knew. Another princess who came to grief. Enough games, I said. What have you done with Daedalus? Quintus stared at me. My boy, you need lessons from your friend on seeing clearly. I am Daedalus. There were a lot of answers I must have given. Or there were a lot of answers I might have given. From, I knew that, to, liar, to, yeah, right, and I'm Zeus. The only thing I could think to say was, but you're not an inventor. You're a swordsman. I am both, Quintus said, and an architect, and a scholar. I also play basketball pretty well for a guy who didn't start until he was 2,000 years old. A real artist must be good at many things.
That's true, Rachel said. Like, I can paint with my feet as well as my hands.
You see, Quintus said, a girl of many talents. But you don't even look like Daedalus, I protested. I saw him in a dream, and... Suddenly, a horrible thought dawned on me. Yes, Quintus said. You finally guessed the truth. You're an automaton. You made yourself a new body.
Percy,
Annabeth said uneasily.
that's not possible. That can't be an automaton.
Quintus chuckled. Do you know what Quintus means, my dear?
The fifth in Latin, but...
This is my fifth body. The swordsman held out his forearm. He pressed his elbow, and part of his wrist popped open. A rectangular hatch in his skin. Underneath, bronze gears whirred. Wires glowed.
That's amazing,
Rachel said. That's weird, I said.
You found a way to transfer your animus into a machine?
Annabeth said.
That's not natural.
Oh, I assure you, my dear, it's still me. I'm still very much Daedalus. Our mother, Athena, makes sure I never forget that. He tugged back the collar of his shirt. At the base of his neck was the mark I'd seen before, the dark shape of a bird grafted into his skin.
A murderer's brand,
Annabeth said. For your nephew, Perdix, I guessed. The boy you pushed off the tower. Quintus's face darkened.
I did not push him. I simply...
Made him lose balance, I said. Let him die. Quintus gazed out the windows at the purple mountains.
I regret what I did, Percy. I was angry and bitter, but I cannot take it back. And Athena never lets me forget. As Perdix died, she turned him into a small bird, a partridge. She branded the bird's shape on my neck as a reminder. No matter what body I take, the brand appears on my skin.
I looked into his eyes, and I realized he was the same man I'd seen in my dreams. His face might be totally different, but the same soul was in there, the same intelligence, and all the sadness. You really are Daedalus, I decided. But why did you come to camp? Why spy on us?
To see if your camp was worth saving. Luke had given me one story. I preferred to come to my own conclusions.
So you have talked to Luke?
Oh yes, several times. He is quite persuasive.
but now you've seen the camp,
Annabeth protested.
so you know we need your help. You can't let Luke through the maze.
Daedalus set his sword on the workbench.
The maze is no longer mine to control, Annabeth. I created it, yes. In fact, it is tied to my life force, but I have allowed it to live and grow on its own. This is the price I paid for privacy.
Privacy from what?
The gods,
He said.
and death. I've been alive for 2 millennia, my dear. Hiding from death.
But how can you hide from Hades? I asked. I mean, Hades has the Furies.
They do not know everything,
He said.
or see everything. You've encountered them, Percy. You know this is true. A clever man can hide quite a long time. And I have buried myself very deep. Only my greatest enemy has kept after me. And even him I have thwarted.
You mean Minos? I said. Daedalus nodded.
He hunts for me relentlessly. Now that he is a judge of the dead, he would like nothing better than for me to come before him so he can punish me for my crimes. After the daughters of Kokkalis killed them, Minos' ghost began torturing me in my dreams. He promised that he would hunt me down. I did the only thing I could. I retreated from the world completely. I descended into my labyrinth. I decided this would be my ultimate accomplishment. I would cheat death.
And you did,
Annabeth marveled.
for 2,000 years.
She sounded kind of impressed, despite the horrible things Daedalus had done. Just then, a loud bark echoed from the corridor. I heard a
Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum.
of huge paws, and Mrs. O'Leary bounded into the workshop. She licked my face once and almost knocked Daedalus over with an enthusiastic leap.
There is my old friend.
Daedalus said, scratching Mrs. O'Leary behind the ears.
My only companion all these long, lonely years.
You let her save me, I said. That whistle actually worked. Daedalus nodded.
Of course it did, Percy. You have a good heart. And I knew Mrs. O'Leary liked you. I wanted to help you. Perhaps I felt guilty as well.
Guilty about what?
That your quest would be in vain.
What? Annabeth said. But you can still help us. You have to. Give us Ariadne's string so Luke can't get it.
Yes. The string. I told Luke that the eyes of the clear-sighted mortal are the best guide. But he did not trust me. He was so focused on the idea of a magic item. And the string works. It's not as accurate as your mortal friend here, perhaps, but good enough. Good enough.
Where is it? Annabeth said.
With Luke.
Daedalus said sadly.
I'm sorry, my dear, but you are several hours too late.
With a chill, I realized why Luke had been in such a good mood in the arena. He'd already gotten the string from Daedalus. His only obstacle had been the arena master, and I'd taken care of that for him by killing Antaeus.
Kronos promised me freedom,
Quintus said.
Once Hades is overthrown, he will set me over the underworld. I will reclaim my son, Icarus. I will make things right with poor young Perdix. I will see Minos' soul cast into Tartarus, where it cannot bother me again. And I will no longer have to run from death.
That's your brilliant idea?
Annabeth yelled.
You're going to let Luke destroy our camp, kill hundreds of demigods, and then attack Olympus? You're going to bring down the entire world so you can get what you want.
Your cause is doomed, my dear. I saw that as soon as I began to work at your camp. There's no way you can hold back the might of Kronos.
That's not true,
she cried. I'm doing what I must, my dear. The offer was too sweet to refuse. I'm sorry.
Annabeth pushed over an easel. Architectural drawings scattered across the floor.
I used to respect you. You were my hero. You built amazing things. You solved problems. Now, I don't know what you are. Children of Athena are supposed to be wise, not just clever. Maybe you are just a machine. You should have died 2,000 years ago.
Instead of getting mad, Daedalus hung his head.
You should go warn your camp. Now that Luke has the string.
Suddenly, Mrs. O'Leary pricked up her ears.
Somebody's coming,
Rachel warned. The doors of the workshop burst open, and Nico was pushed inside, his hands in chains. Then Kelly and 2 Lastrygonians marched in behind him, followed by the ghost of Minos. He looked almost solid now, a pale bearded king with cold eyes and tendrils of mist coiling off his robes. He fixed his gaze on Daedalus.
There you are, my old friend.
Daedalus's jaw clenched. He looked at Kelly.
What is the meaning of this?
Luke sends his compliments,
Kelly said.
He thought you might like to see your old employer Minos.
This was not part of our agreement.
Daedalus said.
No, indeed.
Kelly said.
But we already have what we want from you, and we have other agreements to honor. Minos required something else from us in order to turn over this fine young demigod.
She ran a finger under Nico's chin.
He'll be quite useful. And all Minos asked in return was your head, old man.
Daedalus paled.
Treachery.
Get used to it,
Kelly said. Nico, I said, are you okay? He nodded morosely.
I'm sorry, Percy. Minos told me you were in danger. He convinced me to go back into the maze.
You were trying to help us?
I was tricked, he said. He tricked all of us.
I glared at Kelly. Where's Luke? Why isn't he here? The she-demon smiled, like we were sharing a private joke.
Luke is busy. But he is preparing for the assault. But don't worry. We have more friends on the way. And in the meantime, I think I'll have a wonderful snack.
Her hands changed to claws, her hair burst into flame, and her legs turned to their true form. One donkey leg, one bronze.
Percy,
Rachel whispered.
the wings, do you think?
Get them, I said. I'll try to buy you some time. And with that, all Hades broke loose. Annabeth and I charged at Kelly. The giants came right at Daedalus, but Mrs. O'Leary leaped to his defense. Nico got pushed to the ground and struggled with his chains while the spirit of Minos wailed,
Kill the inventor! Kill him!
Rachel grabbed the wings off the wall. Nobody paid her any attention. Kelly slashed at Annabeth. I tried to get to her, but the demon was quick and deadly. She turned over tables, smashed inventions, and wouldn't let us get close. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mrs. O'Leary chomp her fangs into the giant's arm. He wailed in pain and flung her around, trying to shake her. Daedalus grabbed for his sword, but the second giant smashed the workbench with his fist, and the sword went flying. A clay jar of Greek fire broke on the floor and began to burn, green flames spreading quickly.
To me,
Minos cried.
spirits of the dead.
He raised his ghostly hands, and the air began to hum.
No,
Nico cried. He was on his feet now. He somehow managed to remove his shackles.
You do not control me, young fool.
Minos sneered.
All this time, I have been controlling you. A soul for a soul, yes. But it is not your sister who will return from the dead. It is I. As soon as I slay the inventor.
Spirits began to appear around Minos, shimmering forms that slowly multiplied, solidifying into Cretan soldiers.
I am the son of Hades,
Nico insisted.
Be gone.
Minos laughed.
have no power over me. I am the Lord of Spirits, the Ghost King. No. Nico drew his sword. I am. He stabbed his black blade into the floor, and it cleaved through the stone like butter. Never! Minos' form rippled. I will not! The ground rumbled. The windows cracked and shattered to pieces, letting in a blast of fresh air. A fissure opened in the stone floor of the workshop, and Minos and all his spirits were sucked into the void with a horrible wail. The bad news? The fight was still going on all around us, and I let myself get distracted. Kelly pounced on me so fast I had no time to defend myself. My sword skittered away, and I hit my head hard on the work table as I fell. My eyesight went fuzzy. I couldn't raise my arms. Kelly laughed. You will taste wonderful. She bared her fangs. Then suddenly, her body went rigid. Her red eyes widened. She gasped. No. Skull. Spirit. And Annabeth took her knife out of the imposter's back. With an awful screech, Kelly dissolved into yellow vapor. Annabeth helped me up. I still felt dizzy, but we had no time to lose. Mrs. O'Leary and Daedalus were still locked in combat with the giants, and I could hear shouting in the tunnel. More monsters were coming toward the workshop. We have to help Daedalus, I said. No time, Rachel said. Too many coming. She'd already fitted herself with wings and was working on Nico, who looked pale and sweaty from his struggle with Minos. The wings grafted instantly to his back and arms. Now you, she told me. In seconds, Nico, Annabeth, Rachel, and I had fitted ourselves with coppery wings. Already I could feel myself being lifted by the wind coming through the window. Greek fire was burning the tables and furniture, spreading up the circular stairs. Daedalus! I yelled. Come on! He was cut in 100 places, but he was bleeding golden oil instead of blood. He'd found his sword and was using part of a smashed table as a giant shield against the giants. I won't leave, Mrs. O'Leary, he said. Go! There was no time to argue. Even if we stayed, I wasn't sure we could help. None of us know how to fly, Nico protested. Great time to find out, I said, and together, the four of us jumped out the window into open sky. Ooh. Good gravy. What a chapter. Yo. Daedalus was Quintus the whole time? Dude, Keaton, I'm genuinely as shocked as you. I had no clue. Whew. There were a lot of characters in that one, too. Brawling it out. Throwing punches. I figured as much would happen to Daedalus. It was a sweet offer, but... Dude, you cannot trust a Titan. Kronos has proved this time and time again so far. Also, there was that small run-in with Kronos himself, with the voice sounding more physical than ever. He be rising, guys. He be rising. That's not good.
Also, are they gonna be able to make it back to the camp in time? And even if they do make it there in time, will it make a difference? Is Daedalus gonna be able to fight his way out of that? More importantly, is Mrs. O'Leary gonna survive? That's what I want to know. Yo May. Yeah, normally there's not one on Wednesdays, but I got home from practice and I told myself that I would evaluate how I was feeling afterwards, and if I was feeling good, I would jump in and do some reading. Because honestly, it's one of my favorite ways to spend time. Not gonna lie. Heck yeah, dude. Dude, I can't get enough of these freaking books. They're like candy at this point. The more invested I get into them, the more each chapter just delights and delights me. Or throws me on like an emotional roller coaster, like with the Calypso. With the freaking Calypso chapter. Thanks, May. It's really cool to see you here too. I don't have work this week, which is the main reason why there's actually a stream tonight. I don't have to be up early in the mornings. Yum. Yeah, I'm glad you're liking it, May. If you don't mind me asking, what part are you at? How far have you made it into it? Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's a little bit like, it leaves me a little wary about finances, you know. But that's partly why I pour my heart into my streaming even more if I don't have if I'm off of work for a week. And heck, it's actually like paid off this week. Thanks to dear Remdog. Shout outs, my dude. Bless up, Remdog. But yeah, what chapter are you on? In the Titan's Curse. Yo, the Titan's Curse is such a good one. I think I'm by the halfway point in the book, where Percy is seen by Zoe on the mission. Ah, shoot. So you got to read through the part with Nico going crazy. With Nico finding out about his... Wait, no, that's towards the end. I think that's towards the end? No, sorry. You had the interaction between Nico and Percy where Nico's like, I'm gonna go follow them too. And Percy's like, no, dude, you're crazy. Keep on playing that game you always play. I'm heading on. I've only read the first book in middle school. Now I want to read the series. I'd highly recommend it, Lay. It's a really nice one. Easy to get invested. They're pretty bite-sized, not gonna lie. You know, only about 20 chapters per book, normally. It's a good mix of hard decisions, a little bit of like young love, mixed in with mystery. Even it blends a lot of good stuff together, all encompassed in this Greek mythos based world. So good, so good, dude. And if you'd like, You can read along with me if you want to by checking out the YouTube channel, Mary Mitch Meadow. You go there. I have pretty much all of the books. Oh yeah, all of the books so far. The various streams of me reading through them. So heck yeah, I think there's just I'm only missing like the first couple streams for the first book, and then I think I missed downloading a stream for the Sea of Monsters. But yeah, I recommend it. I think I did a pretty good job. And feel free, like, especially when it's a video too, you can skip through the little break sections. You'll know whenever I begin to read, because I'll open up the book and be looking down the whole time. At least that's how I spot it whenever I'm reviewing VODs. Thank you, May. I think I do a pretty good job too. And I get better with practice. Which is why I'm here. To gain that experience, yo. Well, sweet. I think since it is a little past midnight where I'm at, definitely gonna start moseying off towards bed. And I'm gonna end the stream here. Final thoughts about the chapters tonight. Did you guys have a favorite chapter? Did you have a favorite moment from the night? Is there anything that is pressing on your mind now? Something you can't wait to hear tomorrow? Mitch boy, me baba. Oh, heck yeah. Thank you. Shoot, that actually means a lot, May. I tend to, some of the voices that I worry most about and stress over most are the female voices, because I am in fact a male. And so it's a little harder for me to recreate those. Ah, good. That's right. Since May is here, we're done with spoilers. Spoilies. Spoilers. That Grover and Tyson voice are both great. I'm proud of those ones for sure. Those ones I think I have down pretty well. For Percy, I've just pretty much, like, I don't know. I kind of just do my own voice for the most part with Percy. Because I'm not really sure what else to do. Like, especially when it comes down to, like, a main character. For me, whenever I've read through a book, and if it's from an I perspective, and the protagonist is a dude, I imagine that guy with my own voice. Am I alone in that? Do you guys do that too? I mean, a lot of the reasons why books like these are written is so that we can self-insert ourselves, or self-insert into the book, and kind of live out the adventure, and fantasize about what it would be like to be a half-blood. Heck yeah. Sick. Sucks, dude. Also, I'm glad that finding out that Quintus was Daedalus all along didn't make me have to change the Quintus voice at all, because with his new body, it makes sense that he has a new voice. Thank goodness. I also think it's ironic that when I first read the initial line where he comes in, I read it in the Daedalus voice. I won't specify any more than that because May's here, but I just found that ironic, and then I switched back to to the other voice once I realized who it was. Heck yeah. But it gives you other chances to insert yourself if you so choose. I could imagine being like Clarice, or Annabeth, or Zoe Nightshade, or Thalia. I don't know, any number of peeps. There's some good girl characters in there. Heck yeah. Right on. So I'm not alone in that. Sweet. Yeah, so that's probably why in a lot of Percy's lines he might sound a little bit older than he actually is in the book. But hey, I'll work on getting my, like, I don't know, middle schooler voice better. We'll see. Alright, guys. Well, I want to give a shout out to Lube Coobs. Huh, speak of the dang guy. They are, most of them. I think Percy is now like 14-ish in this book. He was 12 at the start of the series. Yep. Shoot, sorry. I guess that wasn't immediately apparent. But it's kind of interesting how the story would probably still work well if they were teenagers or college age. But I do think it's an important note that he is a younger guy. Yeah, no, he's like 14. He is doing some wild stuff at 14. Fighting monsters. Fighting a son of Gaia. Good lord. I thought he was 14. Because he notes, he makes a note about Perdix being near his age, I think. I know for a fact he's not 16, but he's either 14 or 15. And if you guys have been following the series, you know why he is most certainly not 16. Or I would hope you know why he's most certainly not 16 yet. A certain prophecy, a certain big prophecy. He's 15 by this book. Okay. I would definitely buy that. Gosh, that makes the Calypso thing so much. I mean, it's still impactful if he's 14, but if he's 15 too. That decision must have been freaking crazy. His birthday's at the beginning of summer, right? I'm not entirely sure. Gosh, that means 16 is coming up. Oof. I guess that's why the next book is the final one. Because I think it's gonna be when he turns 16. Whew. Yikers. I thought she just did that because, I don't know, to get away from a smelly Gabe. Not sure. It could have been for his birthday. I know she got him, like, blue candy and blue food from her work, but that's just like a normal thing she does, I think. Not sure. Yo, fun fact about the movie, there's no blue food. No blue food. Come on, guys. throw a blue cookie in there. Please. Toss even a bowl of blueberries. Come on. You can put it in the background. I don't care. I mean, like, but honestly, oddly enough, like it's those kind of little details that would have made that movie so much better. Like I'm not even joking. If there was just like a platter of like the blue cookies in the background, and it's not even made like a big deal out of or anything, but they just toss it in there for those fans of the series that would be like, look at those dang cookies. Cause you know that would be me. I'd be like, let's go, blue cookies, let's go. It's, I don't know, it's an important thing, like, between Percy and his mom. That spans the whole entire series, too. And it's kind of clever, or maybe not clever, because he's Poseidon's son. He likes blue food. Coincidence? The ocean is blue. All I'm saying. Yeah, they often leave out smaller details in movies that would make people who read the books happy. Yeah, 'cause it's not made for us. It's not made for us. Most of the time. They don't really take that into question. Yeah, his birthday's definitely on a month. I would say. Which month that is? Not sure. But I think like a Google search would probably you'd find it in a second. There's even like a Percy Jackson world like wiki, I think. Aha. Thank you, Keaton. August 18th. That's probably an important thing to know. Yo, I'm worried about Tyson and Grover. Gotta say. I won't say any more than that, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm worried about them. And I'm worried about why the dude that showed Percy that showed him that. Why would he do that? What did Percy do for him without realizing it? I'm spooked. I have heard about that. I think they are. Think they're planning on it. If Disney's handling it, I don't know. It could be good. Could be good. I do know that these books right here have the Disney stamp of approval. You see it down there? Disney, Hyperion, Los Angeles, New York. So it's at least something that they're proud to own, which is good. It freaking better, dude. Oh, dude, sorry, that was a little hostile. I really hope it is a book a season at least. Man, and if the series gets popular enough, they could even take it to the following series, The Lost Heroes. That'd be tight. I hope so. And it's still live action, right? Not animated? Because animated would mean it would probably come out much later, but it could make such a good animated series. Oh, I'd prefer, if I don't know, if I had it my way, like 2D animated series with like some like subtle 3D elements. Be so good. 10 seasons of Greek goodness. I can dream. I can dream. Yeah, it'd be wild. I agree, Lay. Be tight. Animation is freaking cool. Well, okay, guys. I've kind of been lollygagging here. As I tend to do if whenever people are lively in the chat after we're done. But I must bid everyone adieu. I'd like to get to bed at a reasonable hour tonight, hopefully. We'll see how that goes. Pray for me. Wish me luck. So everybody, thank you so much for coming by. I want everybody here to take hold of the merriment that we created tonight. Shove it into your soul. Get it right on deep in there. Let it lull you to sleep tonight, and I pray the merriment carries on into the morrow. Thanks everybody for being here, and I love you all bunches. And bunches and bunches. Hope to see you tomorrow for a little more Percy Jackson. Find out if our heroes make it back to the camp in time. Till then, my wildflowers, keep on swaying. I'll see you next time.